we have here Kuldip. Nice to see you, Kuldip.
Yep,
Today.
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing well. You might hear the dogs barking in the background. I've got my German Shepherd, and I'm also dog sitting a friend's dog, so it never fails. It's like when I'm on camera or something, that's when they decide to start barking.
If it was a cat, there'd be a cat butt in the scene.
Right.
So what I'm going to draw today. Is there anything you're working towards at this moment? Or I could ask the same question. Is that if you felt free, you could be or do anything right now, what would that be for you?
I'd be traveling the world.
Absolutely. Where do you want to go?
Where would I want to go? I mean, new places, obviously, but some of the places that I kind of, a spot in my heart is like Costa Rica. I love Spain, Italy, the history of Europe.
So anything with a Latin twist, it sounds like.
It's possible, yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's why I have an affinity for it. But yeah, I try to get back to Europe at least once a year.
Uh-huh.
And with COVID, obviously, that was a bit of a challenge. And when COVID hit, actually, I got stuck in Prague during the lockdown, which there's worse places to be stuck.
Mm. And
actually,
Europe is, it's so lovely though. I mean, like customer service and attention to detail and the richness of history and
the history, the food, the people. Yeah, it's just everything's just wonderful. It's so welcoming. The fashion, how fashion forward it is. Yeah, I'm actually just booked my next trip to Europe. I'm off to Krakow, Poland next month. So for a friend's wedding.
Nice. Well, we're going to get a little bit of everything here of what you're doing. So when you're Costa Rica, you said that it's like your number one for you. What is it about Costa Rica that you love the most?
It's the biodiversity of that country is astounding. It's amazing. It's one of the only countries that doesn't have an army, and they choose to put that money towards conserving the environment and trying to be 100% carbon neutral. And they'll achieve that within probably like 5-10 years. And you look at some of the places, and I love the outdoors. I love hiking. Photography is a passion of mine, so it's a perfect place for that. And there's a place in southern Costa Rica, the Osa Peninsula. It's one of my favorite places on earth. In Puerto Jimenez, and just outside of that is Corcovado National Park. It's their largest national park. It's not very big because Costa Rica is not a very big country, but it's about a 25-kilometer hike in and out on the beach and in the jungle. And right when you enter the park, there's a sign. It says, "Welcome to Costa Rica," or "Welcome to Corcovado National Park." It contains 2.5% of the entire world's biodiversity in this tiny little park. And when you really think about it, it's mind-boggling.
Everything except for the Arctic.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we're going to get a little bit of this in here.
Here we go. There's also a sign when you hike in, and I remember the first time I went there, and there's right in the park, you're on the beach, you're probably about 5 kilometers into this hike. There's an arrow that points out to the ocean and a sign that says Isla Nabor. And when I first saw that, I started laughing, and my ex-girlfriend at the time I was with, she didn't get it. She's like, "I don't get it. Why is that funny?" So Isla Nabor is Island Nabor, and that's the fictitious island in Jurassic Park off the coast of Costa.
Oh.
Yeah, somebody at the park has a good sense of humor.
That's cool. It's been so many years. I forgot about that.
Right.
And so with how is it that you're able to travel so much? Is it with your work, or is it just a passion? Or
It's just a passion. I mean, it helps I don't have kids. I'm not married. So, yeah, it's been a passion of mine for a very long time, and feel like I'm constantly planning my next trip. And it doesn't have to be overseas. Like in a couple of weeks, I'm heading back up to Kuldip and rent this tiny little cabin for 3 days just to go hiking with the dog. And yeah, I always feel if I stick around in one location too long, I get a little stir crazy.
Yeah. So you need to roam
And explore. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
now. Your dog you mentioned. Yes, they just like to be anywhere pretty much. It could be a coffee shop or in the wilderness.
Oh, and he goes everywhere with me. Like we do a lot of hiking, we do a lot of camping, a lot of winter camping. So he's got his own sleeping bag, and he doesn't mind the snow at all. And you know, even to some client meetings, I work in advertising, so I'll bring him into the office and I'll present to the clients, and he just quietly sits there. He's my closer. I always.
Well, that's what when I had dogs, I had Australian Shepherds, and I had clients who wouldn't let me in the door without my dog.
Right. Those are good clients.
So trained, and she was a joy to be around. That people just loved having her here.
Yeah.
Now, is your dog traditional, short-haired, or?
No, he's a long hair. He's West German bloodlines, and he's a lot bigger than what we're used to seeing here in North America. So he's more red and black. He's actually an ex-military dog I got from Kuwait, and they figured he was too nice, so they threw him up in the street. And then he got hit by a car. He had a broken front leg when I got him when they flew him out to me. Yeah, he's only like 10 months old, just this gangly little guy and emaciated, maybe 35, 40 pounds. And but he bounced back nicely, and now we do epic like 10-hour hikes, and he still wants to keep going. And he just turned 8 a couple of weeks ago, and it hasn't slowed him down at all.
And so with his bloodline, like he's got good hips then, like because that breed can have some problems sometimes.
Yeah, he does, because he's a working breed. Predominantly you see that in the North American bloodlines, the show dogs that have the slant to their back, and he doesn't have that. And so yeah, I had him when I first got him. I had him X-rayed, obviously, because of his leg and his hips and everything checked out. And at 8, he's still going strong.
Yeah, for 8 years old, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a version, I think, of him. Have him with a contract ready to do the closing.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, my dog, when I went traveling or anywhere with her, like say I'd go to a coffee shop, I'd say take a chair, and she'd sit on it and hold it for me outside. So when I came out, that I had a place to sit.
Nice.
No one questioned it because she just looked so natural right there. She just sat up there,
Yeah.
and it was fine. And she's so obedient that she wouldn't leave.
Oh, that's brilliant. It's nice to have a smart breed, right?
Well, and it, of course, it's the owner, right? That's what makes the dog. The more time you spend, the better they are.
Yeah, like I said, he goes everywhere with me. It's great. I walk into stores where they normally don't allow dogs, and because he's a German Shepherd, they just assume he's a service dog.
Seek forgiveness, not permission.
Exactly.
Now, what kind of advertising do you, when you say in advertising?
Yeah, for the last 22 years, so digital advertising. So pretty much anything when it comes to digital, whether it's mobile, desktop, you're retargeting out of home. Yeah, so it's a really dynamic industry. It changes every year. There's technology changes, consumer behavior changes. So I think that's what's kept me in it, because it's so dynamic and it just forces you to constantly be learning.
You require novelty.
Sorry?
You require novelty.
Yeah, and
stretching.
Yeah, and you require like a real thirst for knowledge, because you constantly have to be researching. Like I tend to allocate every Friday at least 3 or 4 hours to just research on the industry, because it changes so quickly. And a far cry from what I did before. I was a machinist in the mining industry and an electrician's assistant. So Um, so something time for something completely different.
So what were you like machine? I mean, I know we all have our kind of Forrest Gump life where we're
Right.
different things. When you say machining, is this for in what way would you be machining?
So I would work on this machine that would it was in the mining industry. So the machine that I would work on, it was just one of a kind. We actually made it. There was no other machine in the world like this. And what it would do, it was lathe rebar. So it would lathe the first 6 inches and then chamfer the end and then thread the end. And we would slash the back end. And there were these long 10-foot pieces. And what they would use that for would be, and each of the threads would have to be like within like millionths of a tolerance, right? Because there are stress points. And you'd drill holes in the inside of mines and then put shotcrete in it. And then you'd put these rebar poles into it and it would mix the shotcrete. And that's what would keep the entire inside of the mine up because you'd put steel mesh up and these big washers. So that it was vital that those threads held. That was the whole structural integrity of the mine, the inside of the mine.
Otherwise, it's all come caving in.
Yeah, and some poor guys that have been working underground for months.
And so if it's pit, or not pit mining, but underground, what were you guys mining for?
We didn't actually have a mine. We just created the equipment, so it would be any sort of underground mine. So you know, it's copper or ores. You know, a lot of stuff went to Chile, and a lot of stuff.
Gold.
Yeah, and silver, and like in northern BC.
So that job would take you around the world for starters, because
No, that was, I was really young then, and it was just locally here, a little shop, and so that was my probably mid-20s, I guess, and it was just, yeah, it was. To be honest, I'm glad I did it. I learned a lot because the machine would always break down. You'd always have to troubleshoot it and create parts because it was a one-off machine, and always welding parts back together. So that kind of got me into, like, I worked on my own vehicles. I built my own motorcycle out. A lot of the renovations I did in my house, I did on my own. So it's really helped me, but it got really mind numbing. It wasn't challenging enough. And I remember running the night shift, and I walked into my boss's office and I'm like, "Hey, Herb, can you lay me off?" And he just kind of laughed, and I'm like, "I'm serious." I'm like, "I can't do this anymore. Like, I need to put myself through school." So to his credit, he laid me off, and put myself through school and got a diploma in web programming and system supports. And that kind of just sparked my career. And even though the first job I could land, because I had no experience, was just doing tech support for HP laptops at a graveyard shift in a call center.
Call deep.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, so I mean, you got to pay your dues, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I like about these jobs. I mean, I worked in the oil fields in radiography, and a lot of these things are so enriching because you learn how the world works, and you learn resilience and how to solve problems, and
Right.
like I say, there's nothing I think is important to be able to just to take care of stuff, so you don't feel like you're stuck when something breaks or
Oh, absolutely.
something. That mindset to just be willing to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, and that sense of satisfaction, right? Like, I mean, I could pay somebody to change my oil, but I love doing it, right?
Yeah.
And you pay somebody to come in and put some new electrical outlets in, but that sense of satisfaction, and you're right, that pride of knowing that, and the confidence to know that, if my truck breaks down somewhere, or, I can probably fix it.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
I think a lot of that from my dad. He was Indian British Army paratrooper, and so growing up, like, you just had to make things work, right? And I remember when I was 16, it was a long weekend. I came home and my car was overheating. I put a hole in one of my hoses, the radiator hose or something, and I was frustrated, and everything was closed, and I had to go out somewhere the next day. So Dad comes out and takes a look at it, and I always thought I knew better than Dad, but he always, proved me wrong over the years. So he comes back out with a warm bucket of water and a bottle or in a bar of soap, and he just starts like mushing it together. I'm thinking like, what are you doing, Dad? I'm like, I'll try to find a hose from somewhere. And then he just makes it really malleable, and he puts it around the hole in the hose. And it was like 30 minutes later, it was like rock solid. And he's like, that'll last a week, right? And it lasted over a week. And and in India and the army, like you just have to make things work and figure things out.
And so would he have been like in like a Punjabi regiment, or was he in the actual?
Initially, it was a British Indian Army, so it was a regular regiment, and then during the independence, so he became just an Indian Army paratrooper, and he fought in the partition as well. They call it the partition; they don't call it a war, but that was India against Pakistan, and yeah, he had a medal or a bullet lodged in his head and his shoulder up until the day he died, and he won the Medal of Bravery. So yeah, he'd seen a lot.
Wow. And how old was he or how old were you when he passed?
This was just into 2016. He was 87 when he passed. So yeah, so that was 2016. My concept of time is just out the window the last 2 years with this pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Add more touches here. So now,
yeah, okay, so 41.
I think I seen. Aren't you also like a distiller?
No, I do like making cocktails, and kind of creating my own concoctions when it comes to cocktails. And I host a Scotch club here at my house every quarter, and invite some clients and some friends, and try to pair the scotches with certain appies. So yeah, it's something I've picked up over the years, and I love the creativity aspect of that, and coming up with like new cocktails, and the subtlety of different types of bitters, whether it's like a burnt cedar bitters, African bitters, and how that'll taste with like a smoked cocktail. I have my own little smoker as well.
See all this stuff? It's interesting. So give me an example of something like when you would say you uniquely paired.
Uniquely paired would be what like a Lagavulin, like would be like a smoky kind of peaty Scotch, and I would go with like kind of a honey sausage, so kind of the other side of the spectrum of that, instead of something like a smoky sausage or an appetizer like that. And then the other side of it, I would have I can smoke my own cheese, and so if it's something like a bourbon, like a sweeter drink like that, or a sweeter cocktail, and you get a little bit of a smoky cheese with some maybe like a Lagavulin sausage, something a little bit crunchy.
I'm just going to add one more thing here. This is
I know I
to the list.
I've got way too many hobbies. It's like I can't sit still, right?
Well, I think that's that creative part. It probably hurts more not to do it. It would hurt not more. Let me get that great. It would hurt not to do it.
Right.
Because you've got the ability, creativity. I think that, like, people say, well, do you have hobbies? Like, I don't. Everything I do is kind of so interblended. So if I want to do something, I do it. Like, it's just, this is what I enjoy in this moment, and I don't think of it more than I'm doing this.
Right.
And that's what's important to me right now.
Yeah, I love trying new things. Like there's, I've always been like that. I try to look at myself like a student in life, right? And some stuff I keep, some stuff I throw back. Years ago when I lived in West End, I took piano lessons for the very first time, and it didn't take, so I threw it back. And I remember it was an older German lady, and she was really crabby, and she just taught kids at the community center. And then I come in, and she's like, well, I don't have any adult students, but I'll bring you on board. And the very first lesson, she's like, why do you want to learn? And she was like, really like, grilling me. And I'm like, lady, I just want to learn how to play the Cheers theme song. And like, that's all I want.
That's honest.
And then, so after I finished the class, the course, it was like 3 months or whatever. The best I could do was Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and Old MacDonald Had a Farm. And then she asked me to be a part of the recital. Like all the kids that she teaches, their parents show up and stuff. And for a second, I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll invite my friends and rent a tuxedo and get some white gloves and sit up there and play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
That'd be really, really funny. And if you wear like say a like German lederhosen or something like that, like a really junior outfit would be so funny.
Right. A little Beethoven wig.
Well, hey, there. I think you've given me a lot to cram in there.
Right. That looks brilliant though. That's me right there though. And I love that you got the dinosaur in the background because I do love dinosaurs as well.
Well, that's the island back there in the background in the trees, and I got your bourbon and your sausage and your smoker and your tools.
That's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's remarkable how just a quick little conversation and you can capture exactly what that person is.
Yeah, you actually had a fire hose of information. That was good.
I talk too much.
No, it's awesome. It was fun. It's like, oh, it's like I like the unexpected in it. It's like, oh, it's this, that. Okay, oh, yeah, that. So I'm just recording by the seat of my pants right now, and it's fun because I don't know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, no kidding. And you nailed it though. That's awesome. That's that's definitely a keeper.
So this is like an encompassing picture that celebrates a whole lot of aspects of you, and then I'm sure there's a lot more we can add.
I love the monkey with the bag of money.
Yeah, he's going to be given got the contract to sign.
I just won't show that to my clients because to make sure they know you're not the monkey.
Well, I can add one more animal to it, so it doesn't. No, I'll leave it. It's a good office trick. Well, thank you so much for.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. That is you are incredibly talented, man. And the first time I met you, I was raving about you to my friends, and this just kind of reinforces that. It's just quick little conversation, and you can just capture exactly who that person is. That's talent.
Thank you. Yeah, it's super joyful, just finding out what makes people tick, what they're about, compared to a lot of people, like you got a lot going on. Interesting. But you wouldn't know unless you ask somebody, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right.